Okay, for this part of the tutorial, I'll just explain how to make Xparticles loop. In the next part, I explain how to start the whole Xparticle system for that snowball thing. But for now, let's just focus on the looping itself. Okay, so let's imagine that you need to deliver 10 seconds animation, and you have 25 frames per second. You can check frames per second here in mode, project. In my case it's 25, but I think by default it's 30, so be aware. Okay, 250. So if I want to simulate, if I want to make 250 frames a loop, it would mean that I would need to simulate exactly more than actually will show in the final animation. So usually I'll just multiply the timeline by 2. So in my case, 250 by 2, 500. Here I have my emitter, and by the end of the simulation I animated burst rate, so it goes from 80, in your case it would be something else, to 0, which means that by the end we have that nice fade out. Okay, great. Now we need actually to cache this. Let's go Syncytium, Xparticles cache. Let's pick the folder. Okay, I pick the folder, and now let's build this extended cache 500 frames. Let's go. Okay, boom, done. Nice. Let's check. Okay, it's working. The XP cache object is red. XP cache tag is also red, which means that everything is all right. Great. Now, what we need to do, we need to just copy the emitter and rename it. It's important. We have to have exact same name as the original emitter. Sometimes, for some reason, Xparticle cache that we got with this copy doesn't work. So for just to be safe, I'll delete it and make a new one. Insidium tags Xparticles cache. Okay, great. Here, let's drag and drop our XP cache object here in cache object line. Let's press override, and here we would need to pick the folder with our cache. The only thing though is that for some reason, I don't know, sometimes it works, sometimes it's not. So for some reason, if I put the exact same path to the cache as in my previous emitter, sometimes it doesn't work. So I found that safest option would be to pick not the parent folder, but the one that's within the child one, with actual cache in it. So just to show you, as you can see in our original XP emitter, we have this part blah 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 cache 4, right? And here it goes blah 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 cache 4, and then the folder within the child folder, not the parent one. I don't know, it's weird, but I'm just letting you know, just be aware. Okay, great. As you can see now, they are almost exactly the same, but there is some slight offset to it, to the second emitter. So I'll make offset by 1, and by doing so, as you can see, we now got exactly the same emitters. Okay, great. Let's turn off the second one and let's go to our original emitter. Let's go to its cache tag. Let's press override, and here I want to offset my simulation by 250. So what does it do? It means that at the beginning of simulation we already have some simulation on the screen, right? So it's starting from the beginning but from the middle, therefore get something in the beginning, so there is no fade in, and by the end we got that fade out. So here we can go back to our initial timeline, 250 aka 10 seconds, and as you can see, some simulation at the beginning, boom, fade out at the end. Okay, let's turn on our second emitter and press play. It should work now. Yep, great. Okay, it's working. Great. Thanks for watching. I hope that you found it helpful. I actually was super amazed that there is no Xparticles Loop tutorial on YouTube whatsoever. So I just decided that I just have to make this one. So next part I'll explain how to set up the whole Xparticles system, but it's pretty simple one. So I believe it wouldn't be too difficult, and how to make everything else. Okay, thanks again. Thanks for watching. Please leave comments, requests, and leave likes if you like it. Thank you. Bye. Okay, so the order of the tutorial is kind of weird, but I just wanted to keep it simple for those people who just want to know how to make Xparticles loop. So from here it might be a bit odd that I'm going the tutorial in almost kind of a reverse way, but please stick with me. Okay, so first thing that we need to do is just create a sphere. Let's move it above the ground, add segments, add polygons to it. We can call it initial sphere. Then we copy it, turn off the original one, then pick this one, press C in order to convert it to polygons. Then you press UL. It's loop selection. Press here with shift right mouse button, shift right mouse button. So basically creating kind of cap, which is going to be our surface for emitter. Okay, done. Then I press UY in order to invert the selection. Press delete in order to delete the polygons. Go back to object mode, something like this. So as you can see, I already made it in the previous part of the tutorial. Kinda I supposed to make it in the previous part of the tutorial. So this thing is basically, it's used for Xparticles emitter itself. So I have an XP emitter in emitter mode object. Then object is basically I drag and drop that kind of cap, emit from polygon area, and particle direction is y minus, which is important. We want to particles go down, not the other way around. Then I created XP gravity. Gravity by default it's like a 981, and I made it basically just super weak, not super strong gravity, in order to make our particles, our snow, go down slowly. Then I created XP turbulence with small scale 25%, XP drag to slow down the particles just a bit, XP kill, and in mode outside bounds. So basically any particle that go outside the bounds is going to be killed. What else? And I also use that initial sphere as a collider for particles. So right mouse button, Insidium text, XP collider. Okay, let's create a cube, move it somewhere here. Then let's create where is it, bool? Actually let's copy it and turn it off. Put cube and ball here. Oh no, not this way. And let's go and intersect, yes, and this mode. And then we want to create the displacer. Let's group it, Alt plus G. Put displacer, shading. Let's put noise here. Actually, we can try to use it in object mode, not vertex normal, but planar. Y plus. So it's still not working because we don't have enough polygons here. So what we can do, we can put displacer under the cube and create just more polygons for the cube itself. And now, as you can see, we have some rough area on the top. We can go to displacer, go to noise, and increase the global scale. So just pick what suits to you. And it's already kind of alright, but in the video that I have, I just use it as a kind of default setup.
what we want now is to add some additional kind of bumps, additional details to it, because this one is kind of too boring. So what we can do, we can create a cloner, we can create a sphere, put sphere into the cloner, maybe decrease the sphere size, something like this. Cloner, make it make the area, make it kind of more dense. I still can get used to a new CMA Art25 user interface. Let's create random effector. Okay, this should be enough. Then let's create a volume builder. Put cloner into volume builder. Then let's create volume measure and put volume builder inside volume measure. What's now? Then again, we want to use that initial sphere. We even can use the one that we used in bool. We can put it here. I'll put it inside volume builder and change the mode instead of union to intersect, and voila. Now I'll go to volume builder and change the voxel size. Maybe I can add SDF smooth and just smooth it a bit. Then you want to, when you find like a right art direction for the snow, you can just merge it together by pressing right mouse button, current state to object, and chart it off in order to preserve RAM. So what we have here, we have our initial sphere, right? We have the snow. Here it's already like a merged together object, just a polygon, right? Then you want to create the whole, or you might already have it by this moment, the entire like a Xparticles system. Okay, so we have the Xparticles system. If you don't, you should go again to the first part of the tutorial and create it. Then we have that sphere, right? We have snow. And you can create the cylinder, which is going to be the platform, the base on which everything stands. It's just basically like a cylinder. Change it height, change it width, add a bit of rotation segments, and add bevels, aka fill it, and that's all. Okay, let's set up the materials. Redshift material, standard material. Redshift material. Let's call it glass. Put it on a sphere. Let's turn it on. No light. Here you can use, where is it? Redshift, light, dome light. Here you can use some HDRI map. This one from Grayscale Gorilla. Let's turn saturation off for this one. Okay, the snow goes outside the sphere, but we're gonna fix it by adding the closed surface to sphere, and inside this closed surface we add thickness. We want to make it for two reasons. First one, in order to overlap the snow, or you can just increase the size of the sphere, aka scale it up, right? And the second one, because we're going to use the glass material. Let's go back to materials. That glass material that we created. Choose preset glass. As you can see, if you don't use the closed surface, you basically don't have any thickness on that sphere, and the glass won't look right. So it's quite necessary to create that closed surface and put the sphere inside the closed surface. Let's go to let's pick our HDRI, our RS dome light, and rotate it a bit. Okay, let's go to lights. Let's create another dome light and change the color. Let's pick this one, for instance. So this is going to be our background light. Let's call it BG. It's not actually background light, it's basically the background like a studio. As you can see, this background light, let's create plane for the floor, move it down, increase the size, create new one, create, redshift, material, let's rename it floor, put it on the plane, rename it, let's also call it floor, open the material, change the color, make it a bit brighter, turn off the reflection, then create ramp, create circular ramp, connect to output in order to see it in the preview. Right mouse button, invert the gradient, adjust the colors, and connect now this gradient, this ramp to opacity, and then connect this material to output. So basically we can see reflection of this floor in the sphere, and sometimes maybe on this particular HDRI map it doesn't seem that visible, but sometimes basically you can see like those that kind of sharp edge, basically that sharp reflection on the floor in the sphere. And because I wanted to make it smooth, I just connected the ramp to the opacity, so the reflection, the way reflection translates, not the translates, but kind of how would you call it, kind of mixes between other reflections in the sphere, is super smooth with this feather. But you can skip it, it's up to you. It's kind of more about the art direction rather than something that's necessary to create. Okay, then we want to turn off from the, at least I want to turn off from the render, but I want to leave the shadow, redshift text, redshift object, mate or matte, overwrite, press enable, press here, and see we have this, we have the shadow, but we don't have the actual floor in the render. What's next? Let's create the new material, a rest material. Let's call it red, for instance. Put it on the cylinder and F roughness, for instance, just a bit. The camera. You can create null object. You can create the camera. Go to the camera, change focal length. For this tutorial, I create 85 focal length camera. Put it inside the null object, and then I'll go to 0 frame, press here, goes the last frame, 360, press here, open the timeline, let's rename it camera. Jesus, crime everyone of the camera. And I'll turn off easy in, easy out by pressing here. Okay, so we still can see our HDRI in the viewport, in the preview, sorry. Let's go to our HDRI object, aka RS-DOM light, and press backplate enabled, so we won't see it in the viewport. Also, you can go to your HDRI object and add, sorry, it's here. Global illumination changes from 1 to 1.5. So basically it kind of gives additional global illumination bounce. In order to see the particles, I mean the snow itself, you want to put redshift text. Then when you created those redshift object text for each XP emitter, you want to create like a small actual particles, like a geometry, the spheres. I already have those. Let me show you. I put them here. Basically, it's like a small spheres with low amount of segments, like actual crystals. And then I just drag and drop those spheres in this like particles tab in redshift object. Particles, custom objects, drag and drop those spheres here and adjust the scale multiplier. And now you can see this geometry in the render. In the last element, the most important one, is basically the actual object. I have this nice doggo. Let's add a bit of light, make it 2, increase the brightness. So I have this Doggo. I got it from Sketchfab. I just typed Shiba and voila, this nice Doggo. Super cute, right? And just place it and put all materials in it, and then voila,